Hey guys, I'm David here at Barber Surgeons today, just talking a little bit about Suavecito's new matte pomade. So matte pomade is going to be really good for a lot lighter use, like stuff that's really popular right now that people just want a little more natural look. Super easy to deal with. It is gonna give you a totally different look. Still water-based, gonna wash out really easy. Shows off a lot of texture, especially for those guys with like lighter hair or that have like a good wave to it. You know, like you can still play with it throughout the day and keep a nice natural look without just looking like you rolled out of bed. Okay, Kobe here has like a nice little wave to his hair. Makes it really easy to get a little bit of volume. He doesn't have to do a whole lot to get a nice look. It's just gonna tame it down a little bit. I like to start out, especially with the matte, kind of adding a little bit with his hair completely dry. You'll notice like if you have a little bit of moisture, it'll keep a little bit more of the sheen. Like a gloss, like wet look that you're used to with like a normal pomade, but it still brushes out matte. So this is normal, like you'll get a lot of that white at first. It's kind of like an easy indicator that just means that you need to work it in more. Right? So if it's a little more than you feel like you're used to, it's not a bad thing. It's just gonna tell you like, hey, I'm not all the way in the hair yet. Just wanna make sure that it's all dispersed in his hair. And I go light to start, because you can always add more. You go heavy at first and then you're stuck. You have too much, you can't do anything with it. Because it keeps that shine, I'm not gonna put water directly on him. I'm gonna put a little bit on my hand. So that way I can like work it in a little bit more gently. So once I have everything kind of dispersed the way I want it, then I'll kind of break it up with my fingers a little bit, like real light on the water. Just like we were saying, because he already has like that nice wave to his hair. This side, I want it a little bit more controlled. I can push it down, the pomade will still hold. It kind of gets a little stiff when it dries. And so because this matte is still like a water base as well, it's not gonna be flaky throughout the day. So if he still wants to mess with it, he can run his hands through it, push stuff out of the way still. Just play with it throughout the day and not have to worry about it getting messed up. This one, we're gonna use a little bit of the blow dryer for those who are willing to put in a little bit more effort when they do their hair, like this guy. To start it off, I'm gonna wet it a little bit. Not too much, I don't want it like super damp, but I just wanna be able to disperse the matte pomade in there. And then when I hit it with the blow dryer, it's actually better to go from like wet to dry than to just keep trying to blow dry hair. You're gonna get more of the change faster. Like I always do, kind of start off with a little bit, work it into my hands, and comb it in. If I want to add more, I can add more. Alex here normally has a really tight undercut too, so he's been growing this out. So it makes it a little easier. I'm just gonna push some of this down. He's not done yet, so it's not a big deal on how it is. I'm just getting it all over his hair. You can see a little bit of the whiteness, but that's gonna go away definitely when I start combing through and hitting it with the blow dryer. So when I started blow drying, I'm really trying to pull that hair forward and hit at the base, because that's where I'm gonna get the volume from, is like going from wet to dry to create this shape here. So when it's dry, it's gonna hold that way and it's gonna wanna go against it, and that's where I get like that little pop from. Now that he's a little drier, do a little bit more, just so I have something on my hands when I'm shaping. On the main part, I'm being like real light, just kind of glossing over now. But where I get this like stand up, because he's growing it out, there I'm not afraid to kind of push on it. Really like work the pomade down. Once it dries, it kind of gets a little stiffer, almost like having a hairspray, but just like with his texture of hair, it's still easy enough for him to run his hands through. Just the cool thing about the matte pomade, it shows off that texture instead of just being like a hard gloss, you know, that perfectly manicured hair. You get to see all the texture too, you get to see the wave of his hair. All right, Dan here has kind of coarser hair. It's a little short, classic style, longer in the front. You know, just kind of combs it to the side. Keeps it pretty easy to do. What do you normally use on your hair, man?
Premium blend?
All right, like the premium blends that has like, you know, it's like a medium shine. It's pretty flexible. I'm gonna put it on dry to start, just because even though his hair's kind of coarse, he doesn't keep it very long, so it's not gonna be too hard to work it in. I like that longer front part to get a lot of pomade in it, because that's where the look really comes from. You can tell I'm not like combing it through so much like I was on the other guys, just because his hair's shorter. It's a lot easier. I can kind of like, I can rub the pomade straight in and not worry about it spreading out as much. That white is okay. That's kind of just like your indicator. Again, it's gonna tell you how much you need to comb through, or if you need to hit it with some heat to kind of just work it in. You can tell as I keep rubbing it, it kind of fades and fades and fades. You kind of see right now, like as it dries, and even if it does get a little bit glossy, you kind of just comb through it again, and it breaks that up without diminishing the hold. You can kind of tell like how it's getting harder for me to roll the comb through, but that's how much it's holding it. I really use the comb to give direction, and I use my hand that still kind of has a little bit of product on it to kind of just smooth over. So it's still getting a really classic look, just without all the super gloss that you would get from like the firme or the classic hold. So George here is a little wet right now. It's like kind of gonna show you how it would go if you were like getting out of the shower, kind of lightly towel dried, and you're gonna hit it with the blow dryer and get some like nice volume out of this. So it's gonna be a little bit easier to work with just because his hair is already kind of damp. Still gonna start off with a little bit. I don't like to do too much. I work it into my hands and just kind of get it all around his hair. You won't see so much of the white residue because it's wet. So it does help it disperse a lot. I still just want to work everything in. Once I start to see all the white disappear, I'm gonna grab a little bit more just because I can feel that it's a little light. He's got some nice thick hair, so I gotta put a little bit extra in there. Once I got that, I'm just running my hands through it as I go. Just trying to see that nice volume right there. I'm kind of gonna just do the same on this side. And I'm pulling. It's not hard, right? It doesn't hurt. Yeah, but it's just enough to like I can pull this out straight. Sorry, pull this straight at the base right here. It's just because however the hair dries is how the hair is going to want to stay. Now that I really have that shape up front, it's not as dry back here. It's like bone dry up here, but I gotta work with it a little bit more, so I don't want it to be too dry yet. So I gotta finish kind of directing everything back here so I can take care of all this. So you can keep it like that, keep it like real perfect in the front. Or if you want it to look a little more natural, like I still have that residue of the pomade, that's why I just spritz a little water on my hand. And I can run my fingers through, just like really show the texture of his hair. All right guys, once again, I'm David here at Barber Surgeons in Fullerton. Hope some of the tips that I shared with you today help out on that matte pomade. Enjoy it.